name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of enabled warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. See, we push the limits. We are mentally strong, and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast. Enabled Warriors, today on the pod we have a very inspiring guest. After she had a mini stroke aged just 14 years old and was diagnosed with various autoimmune conditions, which I'm sure we'll get into in a minute, she set up a blog called A Chronic Voice, which was set up in 2015, and it's about articulating lifelong illnesses through various perspectives. It's amazing. To date, she has around 25,000 followers across her blog and social media channels. She's amazing, and she's here with us today to discuss all things chronic illness. Enabled Warriors, please help me in welcoming the fabulous Sheryl Chan, everybody! Woo! Hey, Sheryl, how are you doing?
I'm good. You?
Good. I'm great, thank you. I'm great. How are you?
Good. Just a bit of a brain fog today, but mostly good.
And this is actually your first ever podcast interview, isn't it?
First ever, so yeah, it's a new experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a bird or something in the background? I can hear
yes.
Walking.
I hope they're not too noisy. Yeah, I closed the curtains and everything, but they're still chirping. Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah.
So cute. So let's get straight in by asking, can you tell us about the mini stroke that you had at 14 years old? That must have been so scary.
Yeah, it was, so I was in a NPCC, which is like a uniform police group in secondary school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did lots of like physical training and stuff in the sun, like push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like this. So one day I just kind of felt sick, like nauseous. So they carried me to the teacher's room and everything, and they thought I had a heat stroke. So my friend was with me, and she kind of like helped drag me to like a doctor, because like literally half my body was numb. So it's like a classic stroke symptom, but not so bad. So it wasn't a full-blown like you can't even move at all.
Right.
But, it was like from head to toe, like half my body just felt numb. So we kind of like dragged ourselves to the doctor and he referred me to the hospital. So we had to wait a few months before I saw the doctor and got my results. Yeah. And then he said I had ANTIPHOSPHOLIPID syndrome, which is a blood clotting disorder. Yeah. So that's how I found out I had, that's where it all started at 14.
Oh,
yeah.
God, 14 though. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. So what year at school would that have been? So
secondary 2. I'm not sure how you count that. Secondary 2. Yeah.
So in the UK, I think it'd be like year 8, year 9.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Oh gosh, but yeah, that must have been so crazy, and thank God that your friend was with you, like at the time.
Yeah. I think at that age you're not aware of how bad such a symptom could possibly be.
No, exactly. And oh gosh, that's just so crazy. So you mentioned living with antiphospholipid syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is crazy in itself, but you also live with lupus.
Yeah.
How do I say this one?
Sjogren's syndrome.
Sjogren's syndrome, epilepsy, PSVT. I'll get my letters right in a minute. Yeah. And a repaired mitral valve. Like what on earth? What on earth are all those? Like how do you live every day? Like
they're kind of overlap. So the medications you take for them overlap as well. So the symptoms are quite similar. So lupus and Sjogren's kind of overlap. So sometimes you can't tell the difference either. Yeah. I think lupus tends to be more well known to the public than Sjogren's. But for me, the Sjogren's is actually more painful than the lupus, I find. For example, the fatigue I get is from Sjogren's. So I asked my doctor, is it similar to like ME, chronic fatigue syndrome kind of fatigue? And he said it's a little bit similar, but I don't really know because I've never had ME to compare. But Sjogren's fatigue can be pretty bad. And the kind of pains you get, say joint pains you get from lupus versus Sjogren's can be quite different as well. For example, you get joint aches from lupus, it mostly affects the small joints, whereas Sjogren's, it's like the big joints and muscles. So for me, my biggest flares have been Sjogren's flares actually. So yeah, the epilepsy, well, touch wood, but I hope it just comes out of the blue for me. So, or in my sleep. So it's not so bad.
Sleep? What?
I didn't know until like someone told me like, yeah, you were like convulsing in your sleep. So yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I didn't even know. Yeah. So I'd wake up with like brain fog. Maybe I had that last night. That's why I'm foggy today. I don't know. But it does give me a bad headache. Not headache, but like I get really confused the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's insane. So, do you like live with your partner or anything, or do you live on your own? Or?
Right now it's a bit of a messy situation. So I moved back to my parents recently. Yeah. So yeah, but we have some birds together. So right now he's back in Australia. So I'm here taking care of the birds for a month. Yeah.
Oh wow.
we're pretty close in the sense that yeah, we can still hang out together, stay together, and be fine. So yeah, that's good, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Because I was just thinking, like, if you're on your own and that kind of thing is happening, that could be really dangerous.
So I was here for the first week alone because right now I'm alone for a month, and so I noticed like the photo frame was coming down, like a huge one. It's like maybe 2 meters, so it was pretty heavy. And then the next morning I woke up and I realized it was taken down and put behind the chair, and I must have done it because no one else could have come in. And I don't remember it at all, so that's a bit scary. So I'm not sure. I have to discuss this with my doctor next appointment, but it's quite scary because I wouldn't even touch it on a normal day because it's quite heavy. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So I did it in my sleep. Yeah. That's something I noticed. Yeah.
So day to day, like what kind of symptoms do you feel?
So those are the main ones: the fatigue, the
fatigue and muscle pain, and
I would say. My heart problems are more well controlled, so it's more of an on and off thing where if I get a heart rhythm arrhythmia, I just take some medication or go to the hospital, and it's quite okay for now. The antiphospholipid syndrome is a huge, I think it's the biggest problem because it's kind of like a shadow. It's like a quiet assassin. So lupus and Sjogren's are like the brash warriors. They beat you up every day, that kind of thing. But like antiphospholipid syndrome kind of like lurks in the shadows, and when it strikes, it goes in for the kill. It wants to kill you because every time it hits, it's like I need to rush to the hospital and probably need blood transfusion and stuff like this. So, so that's it's part of day to day, but it's more in the shadow, I would say. So it's more this and Sjogren's stuff. Yeah, the fatigue and brain fog, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Fatigue and brain fog are the worst.
Brain fog is still okay for me, but it's frustrating. I find pain worse. I mean, if you have a brain fog, if you have time, you can just kind of just lie in bed and do nothing. But the pain, you gotta deal with it. So yeah.
Yeah, you got to push through that constantly, haven't you?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. It's amazing.
So you have such days as well. So Yeah.
So what was your actual diagnosis like? So when you had your stroke, you said that's when you kind of got your kind of phospholipid syndrome diagnosis and things. So how did everything else happen kind of after that?
Uh, so the doctor told me I had antiphospholipid syndrome, and I was just in shock. And because he said to me, the first thing he said to me was, okay, you can't play contact sports anymore, blah blah blah. And that was the first thing that struck me. Like, I was like, what? I can no longer play basketball or football, because that was a huge part of my life at 14. And he was like, oh my god, you're crying already. Like, it hasn't even started, right? But yeah, because I think I mean, you got to put it into like perspective. When you're 14 and 30, what's important to you at that stage. Yeah. So I didn't really because I don't, like I told you, it's kind of like a silent assassin. I didn't feel pain or anything, so I just went on as per usual. I didn't really take my medications properly and stuff. And then I had a multiple DVTs plus a clot in the lung at 17. So that was a huge full body, like a massive clotting episode, which I almost died from. And I think that triggered the lupus after that, because my doctor did say that if that didn't happen, maybe the lupus wouldn't have mutated from there. His mutated, yeah.
Nice word, nice word.
Yeah. So yeah, from there 20 I had epilepsy, and then it just kind of built up like one by one. Yeah. So every year you're getting better, and then you find something new. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got something else to deal with. And I'm like, great.
Yeah. And so quite familiar to most people with chronic illnesses. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you about like so you're based in Singapore at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. So does the healthcare system differ from different places?
So I wouldn't know much about Hong Kong because I was still a kid.
Yeah.
In Singapore, I would say it differs quite a lot, because I do read a lot of American and UK bloggers blogs, and yeah, I would say it's very different here. So we don't have so our insurance is more of a private insurance, and once you get sick, usually they reject you from purchasing insurance after that. So everything, yeah. And so government subsidies here, say for medications, I'm not sure if it's the same as the UK, but they split it up into tiers. So there's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and it's based on, so for example, my medications, my most expensive medications are not really subsidized because they're rare, and they're not, the pharmacist said, yeah, they're rare, so the government doesn't want to subsidize them so much. But that's ridiculous, because that's what I need the most help with, right? I don't need subsidy for like $1,000, right? Yeah. So and another thing is, so how they count, so there are some social benefits for people who are poor. But I think it's a bit different. I'm not sure. So in the UK, I think it's based individually. I'm not sure, like as an individual, because here, most people here live with their families. It's a small country, and I think culturally, most people don't move out until they're married. So they count income based on household. So if your address is registered under one house, your salary is counted into this lump sum. It has to be like under $2,000 in total before you get this special subsidy for like huge benefits, in a sense. Yeah, so that's quite impossible. So if you're like on bad terms with your family, but your address is still registered in the same house, you get nothing. Yeah.
That must be really hard. My goodness.
Yeah, so it's not really fair, I would say. I mean, it's not really fair anywhere. And a final thing, I think this might touch some nerves is I don't really get disability because as in I don't understand because there's a lot of blogs complain about disability because I mean I read that the people that interview them can be quite mean and stuff, and I'm sure that's terrible. So it's a touchy subject and I know nothing about it, but I mean to be treated badly is never good. But I'm thinking like to even get that opportunity is nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here for now, my parents help me with my finances. Yeah. You're pretty much like I was like a taxi driver told me once. You can die in Singapore, but you can't fall sick. It's really expensive. Yeah, it's true.
Wow.
It's true. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So do they not have a kind of a disability sort of scheme over there? Is there anything to,
You,
or is it just that it's so like hard to
really
access?
hard to get, yeah, really hard. You need to, your whole family has to earn under $2,000. So that includes your mom, your dad, your siblings, and you. Yeah, it's a bit
That's quite hard
ridiculous.
in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite ridiculous. Yeah.
Gosh, that's crazy. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you set the blog up and why you set the blog up? Like what were you kind of aiming to achieve with it?
I set it up the year I had tuberculosis, and I was really, really depressed from the medications because they interacted with my own medications, and I had to increase my steroids to like body weight, and that always drives me a bit mad. So for TB, tuberculosis, you have to take the medications for 9 months every day, and you need to go to the clinic to take it in front of the nurses every single day.
Oh,
They,
okay.
yeah, they have to like make sure you swallow it in front of their eyes, kind of thing. Yeah, because,
Okay.
yeah, because people to get resistant to it. Yeah. So it was a really bad year, and I was home most of the time, and I decided I like to write, so I was thinking I should just set up the blog and do something at least. Yeah, do something.
Yeah, just to just kind of find a positive in it almost.
Yeah. So it took up quite a bit of, I mean, blogging can take up quite a lot of time. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it occupied most of my time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite good though because then you can kind of do it in your own time and you're not
Yeah.
pressurized on like, this has to be done at this time and you have to go to
Yeah.
that place and
And
yeah.
it's useful. So yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
That's really good. I love it. So I think your blog is really interesting because there's so many different things on there that you cover, and you cover kind of it's not just the conditions that you have either. You cover kind of different conditions, and it's kind of a very inclusive blog, which I really like that. That's really good.
Thank you. That's something I think is important. I think I'm not discounting blogs that just focus on one thing. I think it's very important to just understand a single symptom or single illness. But for me, I like reading about other illnesses as well, and I think it's important to touch a bit, touch to to touch a bit on every topic. And the main aim for me is to like instill empathy in society. It's not so much about being sick, but being human in a.
Yes. Yeah. That's a really lovely message because, like, for most, particularly when it's an invisible illness as well, obviously to the naked eye, you just look like a completely normal person. Like, nobody would know any different. So it's really good to be talking about those different kind of conditions that people are living with, and it's creating that awareness of just like, and that mindfulness that you never really know what someone's going through.
Like physical pain. I mean, someone else could be going through a rough time as well, and it's just about being human. Yeah, I think so.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really good, and that's why people with different invisible illnesses coming on the podcast, because I want to talk about what other, because it's I find it really interesting to learn about what other people are living with, because
Right. Yeah.
there's some of these conditions that I've never heard of, and it's
Yeah.
amazing and I'm just like, wow, like, what is that? And you kind of think, you know, how can there be so many conditions?
Yeah.
And like, how do doctors differentiate between the different conditions? Because it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and that knowledge comes from speaking up, I would say, from different.
Yeah. So is there anything that your blog, have you found that your blog has kind of enabled you to do different things and like allowed you to work with interesting companies, for example, or meet new people, or?
Yeah. So it kind of grew organically. It wasn't like an immediate thing. Like companies slowly asked if they could pay me to write something or work on something. So it was kind of an organic thing where I slowly learned how much a post should cost and stuff like this. So it was a slow thing and it's still ongoing. I'm still learning. But I'm getting more and more offers, although I would say it's still not enough to finance me for a month, you know, like, but because I would like to write for a living, but or to do something related to this blogging and healthcare stuff, but it doesn't earn so much money, at least at this point. But it's still interesting to work with some interesting companies that I've got a chance to try some really interesting products. Like I like so I had I'm sure you've heard of Quell. Like it stimulates the nerves to generate pain relief. Yeah, that was interesting, and they were very generous with the products that they gave. I've tried Thrive Inside. I like them a lot. The company. It's like they sell probiotics, but they also do like a test you have in your gut. So I mean, it's not an accurate snapshot, I don't think, because there are like trillions of bacteria in your gut, right? But it was still interesting to see like, oh, you have more of this or that in your gut. It was just, I mean, it's always nice to get a snapshot of your own body. Yeah. So yeah, so I've got a chance to try some interesting products and work on some stuff. Yeah, and for other bloggers as well. I'm part of Chronic Illness Bloggers group, so it's a Facebook group online that I'm quite active in, and we help each other share posts. So Jenna runs the website, and she looks out for writing opportunities for us and stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty good network, I would say. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So it's really grown into its own kind of community in itself. So you kind of got like the people that read your blogs and things, and then you've got this sort of community of bloggers that actually write over there.
Like a blogging community for people with chronic illnesses. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. It must be really nice to share experiences and things as well.
Yeah, because they understand and you don't have to explain or anything. Yeah.
So for anyone listening that wants to set up their own blog, like what would your advice be to them? Like how do they go about doing that?
First of all, I would say you need to know why you're setting it up. Like, if you're setting it up just for to update your friends or family, that's fine. Just set it up, and I mean, it's good to get things out of off your chest, and it's good that they can just refer to it anytime to know how you're feeling or what you're doing, stuff like this. So if it's just for family and friends to read, just set it up. But if you want to advocate through your blog, you have to be aware that it's a lot of work. It's not just doing one thing. It's not just, I like to write, I just want to share, and that's it, because you write it and no one's going to read it. You have to network and collaborate and promote yourself.
Yeah.
And you also have to, you have to share people's posts as well. It's kind of like a mutual support kind of thing. But the main advice I'd give is to not be selfish. I think that's a big one. It's not just about your own blog, and you try to be the best, then block everyone out. But I think especially for the chronic illness community, we kind of had to work together more than other people. Yeah. So it's a collaborative effort, even as a blogger. Yeah.
That's really interesting, though. That's really it's amazing. So what kind of site do you kind of set up to start off with? Is it like a WordPress site, or do you go on to a kind of, there was one called Blogspot a while ago. I don't know if that's still a
Yeah.
thing.
Blogspot, it's still around. Blogspot and WordPress are the two main ones. I'd recommend WordPress self-hosted. That means you host it on your own domain and stuff. So you get more control over it, and so that's a good way to. It's a good place to start if you want to set it up. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to do, isn't it? You don't have to have like a IT degree or anything like that.
Well, it depends on. It really depends on the person. I'd say how much they understand, because you still have to. I mean, lots of hosting companies help you with this now. So, or there's like one-click WordPress installs kind of thing. So it shouldn't be too hard. Yeah, yeah. But subsequently, like the customizations and stuff might be difficult if you want to do more with it. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anybody that is possibly newly diagnosed with a condition or anything, and they're probably unsure where to turn, what to do, like what does it mean? I don't really know. What advice would you give to them, do you think?
I tell them that everything will be okay in the end. So just hang in there. Um, there will be lots of times where you feel like very depressed and you don't see the point in hanging on anymore, and you might even feel suicidal. I think a lot of us probably have, even if we haven't spoken outright about it. But I'd say it's during those times when you're in like you can't trust your brain. It's not accurate what you're thinking at that point of time, and you just have to hang on, and you'll get some light on some days, and you'll understand why you have to hang on. But you just have to hang on. Yeah, that's all I know. Yeah,
That's so true. It's true. It's the hardest thing sometimes when you're in that kind of
so
dark, depressive state, and you're just like, I don't know how I can carry on with this anymore.
yeah, so when I reach that stage, I don't think anymore. I just stop thinking. Like, just don't think. Just hang in there and just be, basically. Just be there and wait it out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the hardest part, I think, definitely.
Yeah. Sometimes I just sit in bed and wait it out until like, let's just wait till I fall asleep, wait till the next day, and just keep waiting and waiting. Yeah.
Neighborhood Warriors, this is the part of the show where we find out a little bit more about our guest with some super quick secrets. Are you ready for this, Sheryl?
Yes, I am.
Exciting. Okay, so what's the most inspiring book that you've ever read?
Inspiring book. I'd say Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I think that's my favorite book. Yeah. Yeah, so it was written in camp under the Nazis. And it was really interesting because it's a really short book, but everything inside resounded with me, like the lessons he learned. I could relate it all to chronic illness, basically, like what we learn, how we cope with it, and stuff like this. I actually wrote a blog post about this, so maybe I can send it to you later, like what I learned from it and how I applied it to chronic illness. And yeah, it's a bit controversial because I posted it on Twitter, right? And you know, Twitter has lots of trolls. So there was some people that weren't happy with it. They're like, you can't compare it to anything else in the world. Yeah, but for me, I think Mr. Frankel would have been happy that I learned something from his experiences. And I think it's not so much about the situation or itself, but more of the emotion that people feel. So you could be from any culture in the world or from any time, and you'd understand how it feels. You'd understand what it feels like to be grieving or in pain. You know what I mean? So yeah, like a universal language. Yeah.
That sounds fascinating. I'm gonna have to read that one. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever done?
This one's a hard one. I don't think I've done anything really weird. Um, Maybe eat some mealworms in Thailand.
Okay, that's pretty weird.
Not really weird because people there do that all the time, right? So weird is subjective, I guess. But nothing super weird. I can't think of anything. Or maybe I'm just not going to share. Yeah.
You're remaining silent on that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
love that one. Okay, what is your favorite place that you've ever visited?
Um, so I would say so there are these caves in China called Dunhuang grottos,
Ooh,
and it's in Gansu province, which is near Xinjiang, it's in the west of China, which is near the Pakistani border. So these caves are basically how do you say it's cave paintings basically of it's the oldest repository of Buddhist art, and it's art that spans over 1,000 years, and um, it's really amazing in a sense that the artists were not really artists, they were artists, but they were everyone that was passing through the Silk Road. So the artists could be priests, travelers, traders, even thieves,
wow.
uh, painted on these things. So what they did was basically they were trying to correct the images of the Buddha according to, so it was over the Sui and then the Tang dynasty. So it's over a few dynasties. So it's pretty amazing in that sense. Like you'd see different inks from Persia and stuff like this. And it's not. I saw some books on it, and you can't compare at all when you see the real thing. So
Wow.
it's really far out to go there, but I'd go there again just to see them, I think. Yeah. So it's like art that spans over 1,000 years. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I think I also liked Mongolia.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went there on a Trans-Siberian train. So I took a month to do that. And what I liked about it was it's so different from Singapore. It's like spacious. So you could basically accelerate in any direction and you don't hit anything. It's just open space. I mean, in Singapore, everywhere there's something blocking your view. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I was going to
yeah.
say, is that the dream of someone in Singapore, just that to be able to just drive and not have anything in front of you?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But it's just mind blowing. It just feels so liberating. Like you kind of feel like the world is wide. And it inspires you. I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So does Singapore feel like a little bit like a bubble almost?
Yeah, it is a bubble. Yeah, it is a bubble, but a nice clean bubble.
That's so cool. So what is the scariest thing that you've ever done?
Scariest thing. So I had so I about my mitral valve uh, when I found out. So the top heart surgeon in Singapore wasn't really keen to operate on me because of the antiphospholipid syndrome, which makes it tricky for any surgery. He told me it's best to just wait it out until you're nearly going to die or something like this and then do
Oh,
it.
great.
Um, I mean, those ones as bits, but that's the implication, right? Just wait it out until you really need it. Yeah, and he wanted to do an open heart surgery and everything so he could see everything. But my gut instinct was just, yeah, I'm not going with him. I've learned enough lessons not to go with surgeons I don't trust. Yeah, and he was like pretty arrogant and stuff, so I don't want to put my body, especially as such a huge organ, into his hands. Yeah, so I ran a fundraising thing for 100,000 USD
Wow.
to to get to Cleveland Clinic in the US to get it done because that's the top heart hospital there. And so I was scrolling through the internet and selecting my surgeon, like ordering takeout, right? I think I'll go with this one. I like him. I like his story. I like his whatever. And then I got his opinion online and it seemed to click. So we did the fundraising thing, and we surpassed the amount. And I would say I couldn't have done it without other people. I mean, it's not just me. It's a huge team effort, and lots of kind people and people you think was like you get surprised because people you think was selfish or mean, they're the ones that are actually the most generous sometimes. Yeah, so a bit humbling in that sense. Yeah. So it took a long time because it took me about a year to raise it and to get there. The doctor said I should get it done as soon as possible. And the thing about the prolapse is I could feel myself slowly dying, like every month. Like I would just, it would get harder and harder to breathe. So I would sit on the chair and compare it to a month ago, and I'd be like, yeah, I can't breathe as well as the previous month. And eventually I needed just 30 minutes just to lie down in bed from sitting to lying down. Yeah. So it was quite bad. I got there, and it's scary in a sense that they ask you questions like, okay, if it doesn't work, if it's an emergency, we might have to put a pacemaker in, stuff like this. So yeah, that's always a bit scary as well. Yeah.
Oh, very scary. My gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So what part, where does the mitral valve, I'm really sorry about this, but whereabouts is the mitral valve? Like, what does it do, kind of thing?
Oh my god. No, I forgot. No, I don't even know my body. I think it's the one that pumps blood. No, is it the one that pumps in or out? Okay. I mean, the valves basically allow blood to flow from the heart to the lungs or vice versa. I just forgot which way. I'll just blame it on brain fog today.
That's fine.
Good thing I stated it like early on. No, but yeah, I forgot which. Yeah. So it basically means the valve, the flap is a bit loose, so properly through. Yeah. So you have difficulty breathing because your blood's not getting pumped at the full capacity. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Technical stuff. So Sheryl, where can other warriors find out more about you and what you do, and how can they follow you?
So they should know. I mean, I have the usual channels: Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. So everything mostly, not everything, but most of it. And I also run my own web development business. So find me on. They're looking if they want to hire someone. It's at blackandweb.com. And I also run another sister site to A Chronic Voice called sicklessons.com. Okay. So it's a site focused on life lessons you learn from being sick, basically. Yeah, so sicklessons.com. Yeah, but I found it hard to maintain 2 blogs at the same time at full capacity, so I kind of let that one die down a little bit, but I'm trying to pick it up again when I can. Yeah, and my first ever blog I created was journeydrop.com. It's my travel blog because I originally wanted to be a travel writer, travel blogger, and not health blogger. Yeah, but it worked out the other way around. Yeah,
it makes sense because it's like the one thing everybody knows about is yourself the most, right? You know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, there's always something to write about your health, or in general.
Exactly. And you always know how you're feeling. I think that's the other thing as well. You always know how you're feeling.
There's something to do, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today, Sheryl. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. We really enjoyed listening to all your stories and just everything about you. I love how positive you are. You're just absolutely amazing.
positive. Thank you.
I'll stop smiling through the whole interview. I love it. So thank you so much for being on the show today as a guest. And remember, warriors, stay enabled. Thanks, Sheryl.
Welcome. Bye.
If you want to fight back against your invisible illness and help take the dis out of disability, then join the tribe on Facebook, facebook.com/enabledwarriors. If you love this podcast, click that subscribe button and never miss another episode. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.